Nerd could rise up. It could get elevated. Nerd could rise up. It could get elevated. Nerdcore used
Hey,
to be
Kyle.
just a made-up word. MCs shied away from.
We have a super fun episode today.
All of our episodes are super fun.
Well, I think
don't
this
know
one's
where-
more fun because
where
it's
you're-
got. Well, I mean, the ones I'm in are fun.
You're in. Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah, good. Granted.
Yeah.
So, well, what are we talking about today, Kyle?
Well, we have a special guest today from a little more local to you than me, but here in Oklahoma, like a lot of you guys that listen, you know that we are if you put the pieces together, you figured out we're an Oklahoma-based podcast. We bring it up a lot. And we have a local artist from the Tulsa area that's done some really cool stuff, really, really cool stuff. And I'm going to recommend also, if you guys are primarily audio listeners, this would be a good one to check out on the YouTube, I think, because there's going to be some visual stuff. I mean, just a glance over to see what's out there. We have Mr. Eric Lee with us today from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Chris has talked this up quite a bit. Eric's a animator by trade, if I'm correct.
Yep.
And has made some pretty interesting figures that are like near and dear to Oklahoma and Tulsans and just anybody that likes just kind of cool. I don't know if would you say folk art? Like they're very unique. They're easy to describe when you see them. But they're just so cool.
But it's hard to describe when you're listening.
But it's hard to describe when you're listening. Yeah, like you
For
look at it
us.
like that's awesome. And so Eric has created a line of figures based on Oklahoma. Would you say folk heroes? How would you describe your?
Yeah, I mean, I use the term heroes and legends from the Sooner State. So
I like that.
some of them are real and some of them are statues.
So would you
Fictional.
consider these action figures or would you consider these figurines? What's the description on these?
Well, so the proper term is Keshi, which Keshi is used to describe like small rubber figurines. It's a Japanese toy term. Came from the term, like I think it's called Kinekeshi or something like that, which is they were well known in the States as muscle figures, which were these, like looking guys that we used to collect as a kid. They were like, $1 a piece, so you ended up with bunches of them in your pockets. Monster in My Pocket actually was another Keshi form that happened a little bit later that was really popular in the US for a while there. But also similar form factor, just squeezy small rubber guys that you can do battle with and stuff.
I had some of the muscle figures. I had the He-Man ones when they came out, and I had some of the WWE ones when they did that line.
Yeah, I think the He-Man and the WWE, those were done by Super 7 a little bit later, just kind of like my O.K.I.E.S. They're just kind of like a rebirth of it's more, they have the nostalgia factor, right?
That's awesome. Like he's just a trove of knowledge on this, Kyle.
Already, yeah.
Like you're already putting our nerddom to shame.
Oh man.
Which is awesome. So Eric, can you describe your background to us? Like, what do you do for a living? Like, what got you interested in this kind of stuff? Just your background.
Yeah, sure. So animation's my thing. It's always been my thing ever since I was a kid. And so I do animation by day. That's everything from 3D animation to 2D animation. So I do some hand-drawn stuff, which means I also do a lot of illustration, a lot of character design. In the studios I work for, that I've worked for in the past, is like I'm a generalist more than anything. So I kind of fill a lot of roles at a smaller studio. So that means, again, I'm doing everything from concept design to like final renders and animation. And kind of as a result of that, I got into doing more toy stuff just ever since 3D printers became a little bit more affordable for every person. That meant a lot of the stuff I was building in 3D, I could just start transitioning into prints and eventually figurines and toys.
Awesome. let's talk on your animation here for a sec.
Yeah.
And by the way, Eric, the reason we gave you the show flow is because
Yeah.
we tend to there's here and then we go like this and then it goes like
Yeah.
this and this just brings us back here.
I figured, and I'll probably say stuff that he's like, oh, I was going to ask that or something.
Eric, no, we encourage it.
Okay, all right.
So
well,
we
let's not
encourage
go
it.
all over the place then.
So tell us about like what's one of the best most fulfilling animation projects you've worked on in your career? Like what's one of the things that you're most proud of?
Oh my goodness. I mean, there's been so many. Probably one of the first ones that I did was really proud of was a web series I did at my old studio called Steam Puff. You can find that on YouTube, and it's a kids like steampunk series that we did, and we did that with another animator, writer, director here in town named James Farr, and that was a lot of fun. And let's see, another highlight, I got to help produce and create a comic book called Rexodus, which is about dinosaurs in space. That was published through Dark Horse. Got to go out to Comic-Con, do a signing. That was all really
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, and then most recently, I helped direct and produce an animated series for the Cherokee Nation called O.K.I.E.S. And we've only done 3 episodes so far, but it's all in Cherokee language. It's not an educational show, which is actually pretty cool. It's just a normal, just kind of kids entertainment show. It's all in Cherokee language. So those are probably some of the big highlights for me. I'm sure there are others, but those are off the top of my head.
Yeah, sure. And I, to be fair, I didn't put that down to ask you. I kind of threw this on you.
Oh yeah.
That's really cool for like the people that are listening that are not from Oklahoma do not realize how cool that they may not realize how cool that is.
Yeah.
To have a full Cherokee language program that's not educational, because if you're from here, you see a lot of the, and especially if you if you are native, you go to any of the facilities anywhere, there's TVs everywhere, and there's always things playing. It's always educational stuff, and you hear things. I'm personally Cherokee, and I hear things and see things there. But to know that there's a just an entertainment series out there that's in the native Cherokee language, that is really, really cool.
Oh yeah, I mean, normally when you hear the idea that it's a Cherokee language animated series, you think of like Dora the Explorer or something that teaches Cherokee language. It totally doesn't do that at all. It bypasses that, and it's more like watching an anime, which is kind of cool. It gives it a weight because you're just watching it in its natural language and reading the subtitles. But yeah, I mean, that's the brainchild of Jeremy Charles, another director here in town. He's currently doing like an album, a music album that's all. It's like popular music, but it's all in Cherokee. So I mean, he's got a real passion for that. It's pretty cool.
That is so cool.
That is really cool. It's so cool seeing that get a lot of focus.
The unfortunate thing is you can't watch it online anywhere yet because there's somewhere in between like showing it to people and finding distribution. So I don't know where it's going to land. I'm anxious to do more at some point though.
Yeah.
Well, we would.
Fun, cool culture. Cool culture to see. Like I'm from the hometown of Sterling, Harjo. And,
awesome.
Seeing what he's doing and now this, that's so cool. There's so much cool stuff coming out. I'm like,
the Res Dog stuff is really great. And that's exciting to follow too.
So funny.
Yeah. That is awesome. If you, again, what Kyle said, if you all are listening, go check out what's behind Eric, because I just noticed after he mentioned this, I see his placard with the Dark Horse symbol.
Mm-hmm.
I see he has an O.K.I.E.S vending machine.
Oh yeah, I should mention this was a highlight. Like early on in my career, I got to work on Medal of Honor Allied Assault, which was, a lot of people don't know, was actually made here in Tulsa.
Was it
like
really?
the first big Medal of Honor game with the storming the beaches at Normandy and all that.
Really?
Stuff.
I loved that game.
Yeah, I was an intern. So my name's in the special thanks in the credits. And I tell people I textured like a toilet in the bathtub in like a French level.
I remember that toilet.
Yeah, well, it's funny,
My character used that toilet.
I looked it up on YouTube, found a playthrough the other day, and I was like, "Hey, there it is."
That's my. Do you tell people that's my toilet?
Yeah,
kids, this is Daddy's toilet.
That just like unlocks some memories I completely forgot about playing Medal of Honor back in college, I think. And
Yeah.
yeah, when you just talk about storming the beach, it's been a long time, and that was so cool. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so like, I mean, it's a crazy story, and I get really off topic. I'll keep it brief, but yeah, Medal of Honor was made by a studio called 2015 here in town, and which is crazy because AAA game title made here in Tulsa, and that team left and started up Infinity Ward, who went on to
Really?
do all the Call of Duty games. Now, as soon as Activision acquired them, they moved to LA. But
Right.
again, that team is all initially from Tulsa. Now, granted, I don't know how many actual Tulsans are in that team,
Right.
but that's where they started. And
Still
then, of
counts.
course, Infinity Ward became Respawn. So
100. Okay, that's awesome.
superstar team, yeah.
No, and again, Eric, go off, completely go off. That's why we have the show flow. We love, as you can see when you were talking about it, you see Kyle and I's eyes go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what else is back there. Is that a Bill and Ted?
Yep. So I did some Bill and Ted figures. I don't know if it's been a couple years now. Yeah, there's a lot of fun. I did Keshi and then painted resin ones. I still have the painted resin ones for sale on my Etsy. I just have a few left. I only did a small number of them, but they're also kind of high priced because they're hand painted, hand cast, and all that stuff.
Limited batch.
Yeah, very limited batch.
Okay, I've got to ask this real quick too before we go on. I am on Eric's Instagram page. There is some Keshi Cops, it looks like.
Yeah, the Cops and Crooks.
Is that yours?
Yeah. I mean, it's a project I did with Fresh Monkey Fiction, is the name, and basically he hired me to go and kind of reimagine those characters, which, to be honest, I actually wasn't familiar with them, even though they were right in the timeline of my childhood.
Yeah.
Somehow I missed that, but they're really cool characters, and they have this kind of almost like Miami Vice, like 90s future.
100%. So Eric,
yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, you can actually pre-order those on bigbadtoystore.com right now, and I think it'll be early fall maybe by the time they're ready. I think, fingers crossed. Right now they're in the process of getting the molds created and stuff for those.
Kyle and I are very familiar with Big Bad Toy Store.
Okay, yeah.
We're very familiar with that.
Does a lot with
and
them,
I will tell you why I brought this up, because I think I still have my original DVDs of Cops.
Oh, really?
I watched it. So like there was Kyle with Big Boss. They were going after Big Boss. I see Big Boss in the middle.
Yep.
They're fighting crime in a future time.
Yeah.
I had the Marvel comics because one of the characters is Sundowner, and Sundowner hates bugs.
Okay.
Like he had a mortal fear of bugs. Like, and then I've rebought the show since it came out on.
Really?
They remastered it. Yeah, it's been remastered, so I've got it. I've still got my copy. I was so excited to see this.
Yeah.
Like, these are phenomenal.
Really cool. Yeah, I'm very excited about those guys. They'll be my first kind of painted Keshi that I've done, so I'm anxious to see kind of how they turn out and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty exciting.
We are going to definitely post a link to Eric's Instagram and YouTube at the end of the show. We'll talk about that a little bit more too. But these are phenomenal. He did a picture of Porco Rosso.
Yeah, I did that. I've got a YouTube video on how he was made. I do a lot of stuff, a lot of sculpting these days on the iPad.
Right.
So on my YouTube channel, I've got a lot of videos on how to sculpt on the iPad, and he was one of them.
Oh, that's awesome. The
Porco
Katusa Blue
Rosso
Well.
is such an awesome show.
Yeah. We have watched every single Studio Ghibli. That is a staple in our house.
Yeah. Good. As you should.
That is awesome. Kyle, he's got a blue whale.
Yep.
The Katusa Blue Whale.
Blue whale.
Yeah.
Where's
So that's an
repaint Did you have to repaint the inside of the blue whale recently? You're the one that you made, or was that?
No, mine will be single color Keshi. I'm still trying to figure out how exactly I'm going to get him cast. He's a little bit of a challenge. I hope it should be this year sometime. I've had a lot of people asking actually for him.
Make sure you let me know, because I would love to have this one. Like it is. Let's see if we can see it, Kyle.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, so
right?
It's an O.K.I.E., right? So
yes,
not a real person, but a statue.
The legend and
He's a legend.
oh, that
yeah.
is so cool. Okay, let's get back on track here.
No, we're fine.
So what do you, okay, this is kind of a two-part. We have on our show flow what you do for fun and your hobbies. I guess you could kind of roll that all into one if you wanted
Yeah,
to.
exactly. It all kind of blends together for me. The only maybe thing outside of that is I play a lot of synthesizer. So I do that at my church. That's a lot of fun. Outside of that, yeah, I do a lot of I do more toys and more animation and stuff like that. But I kind of like what I do for my job. I would say toys, it's a little bit of, that's kind of the line. It's like when I do animation, animation is a drawn out process and stuff like that. Something I don't have a lot of time for outside of my regular job. And so I do toys instead because I don't get to do as much of that. Although I get to do a lot of stuff for Hasbro at my job, but it's more animation related stuff. So
That's
Oh,
cool.
that's
there's
awesome.
definitely a lot of crossbreeding there.
Something with your
Go ahead, Kyle.
animation and things. I noticed, I went back and read and watched a couple interviews when the O.K.I.E.S came out, and
Oh,
that
okay.
was a huge push. You do some in VR.
Yeah.
And it's like, explain that process, because that's very interesting to me. Like,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
So most of the O.K.I.E.S that I've made, maybe not all of them, but most of them were all sculpted in VR. So that's something I do. I tell people the coolest thing is like when you sculpt like a mini in VR is like you can blow it up the size of a building. You can kind of get in there in the details. It's funny because when I first got into it, like it was a tough thing to kind of get people to wrap their minds around it. But now I think a lot of people have at least experienced VR once or twice in their lives, if not regularly. So I think a lot of people have a better understanding how you can hold it in your hand. You can also make it huge. There's such a sense of scale that you just don't get on a 2D plane. I tell people, like, as an artist, you're exercising like a muscle you didn't realize you always had. Just being able to design spatially, especially when you're doing more of the painting, because you're painting back and forth and not just side to side. It's a little more sculptural, I guess.
Sure.
But yeah, I have the ability to sculpt on my desktop and some of the higher end animation program stuff, but I have a lot more fun when I'm doing it a little bit more non-traditionally with like VR or the iPad, ways that feel actually a little bit more tactile than using a mouse or even just a pen tablet. So
That's awesome. So I think we can thank the Oculus for helping more people to the Meta Oculus, I guess. Now,
Meta.
for having more people experience VR because it's affordable now, like you were saying. What program are you using in VR? I'm so fascinated by this.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, so for sculpting, it was called Oculus Medium. Adobe actually bought it, so it's now Adobe Medium, and they're getting ready to release like a new version called, I think it's Adobe Modeler, I want to say. That's primarily what I use. There are some other programs I use. Gravity Sketch is a good one. Codon 3D is another good one, but Medium is really what I've done all the O.K.I.E.S in.
that is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great program. I highly recommend anybody, especially if anybody wants to get into 3D printing or sculpting, mess around in it. It's easy to pick up. So it's like sculpting. I tell people it's like sculpting with spray foam, because you have this little gun, you kind of spray it out, and then you can carve away as well.
I saw that in the video. Like, it was just like the little nozzle, and you were laying a line of something and then going back in and spitting it out. And
that is so awesome. That's just, I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. Like how, because we have one of the things we have on our Oculus is like one of those modeling ones. You can just start throwing stuff out, but it's meant more for kids. And I'm just making
you
like,
have the Quest, or you have like the
Quest 2
on your desktop as well.
The Quest 2, but I can connect it to the desktop. But
okay, so Medium Modeler, they're just desktop. I should clarify that.
Okay, but I was just like, when I try to make something, it's like, look, it's a stick. Like, now it's a sword.
Yeah.
Look, it's my wand.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's what it is. So it's fascinating to me, like how creative you have to be to just be able to take like just this lump of meta space,
right,
and then behind, like Kyle and I, that's what you created. Behind you, that's what you created. That is so cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, again, it's really fulfilling. It's a lot of fun to do. So Absolutely.
Let's see, Kyle, where are we on this? I'm lost.
So
I'm geeking out too much.
we're probably there. Like, and so what? I mean, we've talked about like where you are and what you're doing with it, and a little bit of the past. But what like kicked it off? What made you want to be in this field?
Yeah.
Which your fields were like really broad. The more we talked, like, oh, there's a lot more going on here. But like, what kicked it off? What got you started?
Yeah, well, when I was born, no.
A long time.
Well, I like to tell
Making
the
these
story with O.K.I.E.S, kind of how O.K.I.E.S came about is I actually was designing some chess pieces. And I kind of went down this process of designing chess pieces for kids. I've got a property called Chess Fight that I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with it. But I spent a year, I would learn how to not just model them. I got a printer in the process, and then I learned how to cast them in resin. And that's a whole, I mean, the rabbit hole just goes deeper and deeper. And I got to where I was making these chess pieces, but if I wanted to sell a set, you know, I mean, that's a lot of characters, you know, it's 32 in a set or 16 in a team. And, you know, I'm having to cast each one of those and clean them up and all that stuff. And just kind of along the way, I got inspired. I was like, I always wanted to do a golden drill or something or other. And so I came across, there's a lot of people that are out there that are doing Keshi right now, just kind of independently. I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. So I did that. I posted it on Instagram and it blew up. Everybody wanted one. I made a batch. They sold out just within, you know, within a weekend, maybe shorter than that on the first one. I don't remember. And I was like, man, here I am making one character as opposed to, you know, 16 or 32. And I can sell them for more of a collector's piece price point and stuff. So I made the next one, and then that would sell out. And then the next one, I was like, oh man, I could just keep doing this. And a lot of people come back and like, oh, well, you know, will you ever make more with Golden Driller? I'm like, why would I do that when I just make a new one? You know?
Exactly.
And so then people kind of caught on. I was like, oh man, you know, they wanted to grab them since they released. So I did that for a while. And then all along the way, I was talking to a guy who runs another independent toy company called Zyka Toys about doing something with Chess Fight. And finally, he was like, I tell you what, I want to design some Keshi. If you'll create some Keshi, you know, I'll help you get a mold made of O.K.I.E.S and we'll do some mass production on them. So I did the, you see them up here, they're called Hamilton's Invaders, which they were a lot of fun. Hamilton's Invaders are actually a line of figures that were released in like the 50s or 60s, where they just took green army men and cast them in blue and said they fought alien bugs, basically. And so I was like, oh, this is awesome. So they're a variation on the Green Army men, but they have kind of like alien weapons and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we released those. I think, I don't know, those may be available on Zyka Toys website. But again, when we did that, I was able to start mass producing the O.K.I.E.S, which is great because as much as I enjoy doing the collector's run of stuff, and that's a very feasible thing for me to do, I also don't like charging like collector's prices and stuff. So that made them a lot more affordable for people. I could sell them in, I would sell them in 5-packs for 20 or 25, whereas with the individuals, those were going for around 20 a piece just for one. So I'm not out here looking to get rich off these. I just want to get them into people's hands so they can enjoy them and stuff. And yeah, so I've been going down that road. I ended up selling out of these 5-packs. If you happen to come across some that are the gold color, they're some of the last available. And just recently, I haven't put these online, but maybe in the next week, I got like pink versions, so more like the muscle color, because everyone loves the original muscle,
right,
bubblegum color. And when I did those, I decided to do capsules. As you see, I got a toy machine. I'm going to put that at Buck Adams here in town.
Okay, yeah.
There's a bunch of different colors in those. And so it's just, I'm just kind of continuing to walk out a journey of all the different things I can do with these figures and creating more figures and more colors and trying to get them into more people's hands. So
Kyle, you would love Buck Adams. You would absolutely love it.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. It's an awesome place. The lady that runs it is a really cool lady.
I'm on a mission now. I want to find the gold ones now that I heard that they're limited, because Kyle knows I have an obsession with getting the limited stuff. I'm gonna be on a mission now to find this. Um, let's talk about kind of the distribution process here, like, because I don't know, and I'm pretty sure Kyle doesn't know either. Like, do you have to create everything still and then send it to them, or like when you create the deal, let's say with like Big Bag Toy Store, do they buy the stuff to create it and then they sell it and then you just get a cut of it? Is that what happens?
Well, with Big Bad Toy Stores, so those the O.K.I.E.S figures, I did those through Fresh Monkey Fiction as work for hire. So I've been paid for those. So that's
Gotcha.
really his deal. But I know he had a deal with Big Bad Toy Stores where they had to sell a certain number before Big Bad Toy Store would basically commit to getting them made. And he hit those numbers. Originally, he didn't hit the numbers. We had done them in the fall. But then we did it again in January with the painted versions, and the painted versions hit the numbers almost right away. So they are getting made. And in addition to getting the painted ones, they're also still doing like some pink and green, just solid color Keshi ones too. But yes, I don't know how that plays out. With the O.K.I.E.S we mass produce, those I have to pay for, a bulk order of them, and then I
Right.
sell them from that. And of course, the more I make of them, the cheaper I can charge for them and stuff. And as I mentioned before, that's kind of a constant battle for me, because even though I'm not trying to get rich, the more money I make, the more other things I can do with O.K.I.E.S. Like I would love to make another mold of 5. So because everyone's always asking, when are you going to do another 5-pack with these characters?
Right.
It's like, it's all about kind of finding that balance of getting into more people's hands, but also just having the ability to do more. And
Sure. That's really interesting to me. Do you think you would ever branch out from just the Oklahoma? Like, because
yeah, I mean, and I have, but I mean, those are very kind of concentrated efforts.
Right.
The Bill and Ted ones, I did Keshi of, so those technically weren't O.K.I.E.S. I did another one of, like I mentioned, I'm a synth fan, so the father, the grand, or whatever, the creator of the synth, basically,
Right.
Bob Moog. I made a Bob Moog one, and those have sold really well. And of course, anytime, and this is the struggle of an artist, anytime you do something, someone's like, you should do this, you should do this. It's like, yeah, let me add that to the pile. Because people are like, well, you should do other, musicians or music producers. And really it all just kind of, it just depends on maybe what inspires me, what I decide I want to make time for. I've really been busy this year, kind of partnering up with some really cool artists that want to do some figures. One of the ones is on my Instagram. I'm really excited about Stephen Paul Judd. He's a Native American artist, and he just did a graphic novel called Res Detectives. And so I did a line of those, and he's having some custom painted Keshi of those come out later this year. Those are getting tooled now. So
that's awesome.
That, as well as I mean, there's other ones. If you scroll through my Instagram, you kind of get an idea for some of the other artists I work with when I do toys. So
Right.
I've kind of been spending a lot of time doing that, and maybe not as much time doing my own stuff. I'm hoping second half of the year I can focus on more of my own stuff, but it also means I have to start saying no to a lot of the
Other stuff,
other cool opportunities that come my way, because I only have so many hours in the day. But
well, if you ever decide, I'm originally from Hawaii, if you ever decide to do the Hawaiian deities, I guarantee you, me and my cousins will buy them.
There you go.
That's awesome. It's just this whole process is just fascinating to me, because this is something that Kyle and I don't know a lot about, like this process. And we had to get together. Usually one of us or both of us will contribute to the show flow. We had to get together to write this because we were stumped, because this is something totally different than what we've ever done.
All right.
But this is great. Like this is super informative, and some stuff that I didn't know about, and I'm pretty sure Kyle didn't know about either.
Well, man, I'll tell you, getting into the O.K.I.E.S, like I started with ones I'm familiar with, but some of the ones I've done since then, there's some really fascinating characters. Bass Reeves, of course, he's kind of a little bit more in the whatever pop culture psyche these days than he was a few years back. But man, I mean, he's an amazing character. And then Wiley Post, my son had been telling me to do Wiley Post forever because he had learned about him. I didn't think much about it. I just thought, okay, he's best friends with Will Rogers. He was a pilot. And then I came across a picture of him in this G suit that he built. I was like, I mean, he looks like straight out of BioShock, but it's a real thing. I was like, wait a second, that's Wiley Post? He wears like an eye patch. I mean, really stinking cool guy. I mean, he's basically like the real life Iron Man. He's a pilot. He built these amazing suits and all that stuff.
That's awesome.
It just
yeah,
like
so
triggered
some of the
something I didn't know I remembered. You said the eye patch. Like, okay, yeah, he did have the eye. Like, there was.
Yeah, he's a one-eyed pilot that built these like zero-G suits. It's like, what the heck? So there's some really cool characters. There's some that I haven't even touched on yet that I hope to do at some point. Some of the figures I've done that you can't get anymore because I just did some one-offs. I did Dick Tracy because the artist who drew Dick Tracy is from Oklahoma. Gary Busey. Some of those, like, I kind of get concerned about because if I'm going to mass produce those, I probably need to get permission and the rights and stuff.
Right.
Will Rogers was a big one. I actually spoke with his, I think it's his granddaughter, about having some Will Rogers mass produced. So he's in my 5-pack. But that's the other thing. Someone would be like, you should do Carrie Underwood. I'm like, well, great. Do you know her? I mean, can I ask if I can, do a figure of her? Gary Busey is someone I would like to get permission to do more of, but
I would absolutely love a Gary Busey. I would
Yeah.
absolutely love a Gary Busey one.
Yeah, he's a fun character. So
All right, Kyle, where are we on this?
I had pictures of Wiley Post pulled up. Hold on, let me switch back over.
is it? Okay, so here's a fun fact.
Because I was looking for that.
Fun fact, there's a Chemical Brothers song called The Eve of Destruction. They do a music video for it.
Yeah.
I like Chemical Brothers, and I was just randomly watching the video. And of course, by this time, I'm very intimately familiar with Wiley Post and his suits. And they have, in that video, they do these different kaiju. They're like fighting each other. And one of them is a Wiley Post suit.
That's
Like,
awesome.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, that is exactly the Wiley Post suit. It's not just like some variation of it. No,
Right.
it's exactly the suit.
So when you saw it, did you just kind of, was it one of the, you jumped out of
Yeah,
your chair
like,
going, it's right there?
Like, what? Yeah, I had to pause it because it's just kind of in flashes or whatever. I paused it and rewind. It's like, oh my goodness.
That pressure
awesome.
suit is so cool. Just the helmet
Oh, isn't
design
it?
of it, because it's
Yeah.
not round; it's a cylinder.
I know. There should be more people cosplaying as Wiley Post these days.
Dang it.
I'm making a note of it.
Okay,
there's
I'm
some cons coming up.
I got to look at this now.
That would be, that might be a good Halloween costume.
Then you explain it, and so it would be educational and entertaining. Because
Yeah.
of course people are like, "What is that?" Like, well, actually, and have like a little pamphlet.
He kind of looks like a one-eyed Howard Stark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's got the mustache. Like,
Yes.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah.
Okay, I see the suit. Okay, this is awesome.
Right. And that's been a neat thing is, these O.K.I.E.S have also been a way to kind of educate people about this stuff. It's like, wait a second, this is a real person? This actually happened?
yeah, if Howard Stark wasn't partially influenced, the design of that character, or that character wasn't partially influenced by Wiley Post, I'm calling some BS on that because there has to be influence there.
But he's like a major pioneer in aviation and stuff. So I would think he's got to be, but
The first man to fly around the world solo.
yep.
This is nuts.
We can do a whole
Wow.
thing on Wiley.
Yeah,
He's an Oklahoman. Yeah, who knew?
that is so cool.
So we
Sorry,
kind of,
we're sorry, everyone. We really,
we got on a thing.
yeah, we got on the thing. All right.
We've talked about like how you produce and everything. We've talked about the VR. So how did you learn? Like, are you is there a lot of self-taught? Is there a lot of trial and error? Formal education for it? The combination?
Yeah, I mean, most of it is self-taught. I mean, of course, I went to art classes and stuff like that, so I definitely learned a lot of that stuff. I was an art major in college. The focus was more on art, and there wasn't really anything. I mean, I guess there was a little bit in terms of, we did Photoshop or Illustrator and this and that, but most of, especially the 3D stuff has all been, me kind of learn on my own. I tell people it's like, everyone has it lucky these days, because when I learned 3D, I had to go to Barnes and Noble and buy a $50 book and go through it. And now you can hop on YouTube and you can learn any of this stuff. It's a lot more accessible than it used to be. But that said, I mean, the industry that I'm in is constantly evolving. So education is just a part of it, so I'm always watching videos on how to do something new, because all the cool stuff that's coming out. I mean, I think I tell people, I think my passion is really at the intersection of art and technology, because like I said, I mentioned the synthesizer. It's really just another version of that, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I'm always learning, kind of self-teaching. That said, I've had some great art teachers along the way to help me too. So
That's so cool. Well, that answered that. You actually killed 3 of our questions in that one
I'm sorry.
statement. No, that's
No.
great.
I tend to ramble too, so I apologize.
You're fine.
You're fine.
Everyone who listens to the show knows what rambling is, so we're
Right.
good.
That's the way these podcasts go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So tell us, the way I had it put is lessons learned the hard way from mistakes and making them. Like, what was the trial and error in doing all this stuff?
I mean, I can get into really, I guess, small technical things about that, but I mean, that's a good question. For me, it's like mistakes are kind of part of the process. It's just all about, especially as an artist, mistakes are part of the process, but it's about using those mistakes and mitigating your losses and being smart about the risks you take. A very low level risk taker when it comes to that type of stuff.
Right.
So I would say, there were mistakes in terms of, trying to like cast the chess pieces a certain way and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. But again, I wouldn't say it was ever a mistake so much as just part of trying something and learning what works and what doesn't. So maybe that makes sense. Chess fight, like for instance, I think it would be easy to say that story's done and that was a mistake or maybe a stepping stone, but it's like, I don't think that story's done. I think that was just me, taking chess fight as far as I could at the moment, and then getting sidetracked onto O.K.I.E.S, finding more success that way. But I still really believe in chess fight and what might happen with that. So I hope that there's a lot more to come in the future eventually with that stuff. So
Have any of the? Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
So have you had anything like in not necessarily the manufacturing process, but in the 3D printing process, or as you're like actually getting to the point where you're able to physically hold any of these creations or anything that you've done that you've had that one, I want to say like that one big catastrophic event or that one thing you're like, oh, like you can look back on it and laugh now because it's something that you learned from, but in the moment you're just like, son of a burp. Like you've had those things where you're just like, because we do like video editing, audio editing, live broadcasting and stuff. And we've had those failure moments of things like,
we've had a lot of failure moments
doing a system restore and losing all of your presets for all your scenes and all your things like that. And you got to build it all back from scratch. And, and you can laugh about it now sort of, but in the moment it's just like, I'm going to learn something big from this.
I mean, I've certainly lost files before, because it's not saving, but I can't, like, maybe I let things roll off my shoulder too easy, because I'm like, yeah, it was just, that's part of it. It means I'm going to do it better the next time, right? So I'm pretty persistent in things, so I will stick with it until I can kind of make things work and figure things out. And again, I like to roll with the mistakes. So like, hey, what can I turn this into and stuff? But I'm not sure I have a great like specific example, other than, sometimes I think maybe the mistake is just not realizing, although it's hard to call this a mistake, not realizing how much money and effort is going to be involved in this journey in the long run. But again, I enjoy that.
That definitely counts.
Right. I wouldn't have it any other way. But there's been a lot of equipment and materials purchased that you just don't even think about. I think a lot of people, they see these figures and they appreciate it and they're like, hey, can you do one for me? And they're just totally oblivious to the amount of effort and money that went into these, right?
Right.
So
Because
One thing you
all they
mentioned-
see is the end product.
Yeah.
yeah, and they think, oh, it's a cheap toy, it's a toy in a toy machine, and why
Right.
should that cost say $20 or something like that? It's like, well, yeah, I mean, you look at art in general, like big fancy paintings, they go for a lot of money, but there's a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears that went into something, even something that might look just really abstract and stuff, but it's.
So
Yeah.
how many, conservatively, or just an estimate, how many hours would you say you spent putting into O.K.I.E.S?
Oh my goodness.
Like,
Oh.
just speaking on that, so people have a point of reference. Like, so yeah, it's awesome. They're this big.
Yeah.
They're in the machine behind you. They come in a 5-pack. We can get it for $24.99.
Right.
How much time would you say you had to put into that? And you don't have to answer this next part if you don't want to, but like, how much, conservatively, like, how much money went into just creating them too?
I mean, it's tough to answer that in the way that I might discount all of the mistakes or education that came along with doing those things. But it's like, if I were to sit down and say sculpt an O.K.I.E., it might take me, I'd say maybe 8 to 10 hours till I get a sculpt I'm happy with, right? And so you can multiply that by 5. They're in that 5-pack, although I've done many more than that. And then, so you do that, you print. Now printing can take, when you're just printing a figure, it's usually like 4 or 5 hours to print a figure like that. So then you print it. And so then you take the print and then you cast it in silicone. Silicone's very expensive. Silicone might be, a couple hundred for, a big amount of it. And so cast it in silicone. That process is like, could go overnight just to cast something. And then you take the silicone mold and then you pour the resin or you pour the rubber and then you do that. And so like, that's another several hours. And then you take it out and you clean it. Right. And then packaging. I mean, in terms of like hours total, I have no clue. I can tell you, I've been doing this for, I think the O.K.I.E.S maybe 2.5 years now. And that's a lot of time that's just kind of spent. I tell people like my free time during the week might be 4 to 8 hours total, so it's that over the several years, and then there's weekend time, depending on what I get there. But yeah, it's a lot of effort. And as far as money, like I said, I'm a very low risk taker financially because I got a family, I got kids and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm not. So usually my investments are usually 1 to 200 at a time here and there on things, whether it's equipment or materials and stuff like that. It's never beyond that, but you add it up in total again over the course of 2 years, and it definitely adds up to a lot.
Right. And so, is your wife pretty supportive of this? Because,
oh yeah,
and let me ask you the reasoning behind this. I'm looking at my collection of Transformers and my Beatles figures and my Bleach mask and what else do I got in here, Kyle? My Star Wars stuff.
Yep.
So many things.
Plenty of things.
I got like 12 things.
In 12 things, you got more than 12. But
we all have as much as our wives will allow us to have.
Exactly. And
It's
then
funny.
I know. Oh, go ahead.
It's funny because some of the people I work with aren't in this field. Like they're video editors, audio editors, producers, whatever. They don't have anything, right? In fact, my boss has pictures of 2 horses behind him. But then I go on Zoom meetings with like Hasbro, and they totally show me up. Theirs is just like a wall of
Yep.
stuff, and it's like, how do you get away with that? How does that happen? And they're like, oh well, I have a whole room that's just like wall to wall with this stuff. It's like,
That's
oh.
exactly it. So I know when I'm in here, if I'm supposed to be doing something, I'm not supposed to be playing with my action figures.
Right.
But sometimes, the stormtroopers get taken over and the Transformers have to rescue them. You know the story. But so you can honestly tell your wife, hey, I'm going to go play with my figures.
Yeah.
But it's going to make us money in the long run.
There's your trade-off.
The dream.
Hey, if it makes us rent money in the long run, that's amazing. Right now, again, it makes money to pay for doing more of it, which is great.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, so I don't have to spend any of our actual money. Right?
This
So,
is funding the next project, and it.
that's right.
And I will tell you all too. Eric's wife is a saint. I've known her for a while. She is a phenomenal person.
Yeah, so I mean, she's an elementary school teacher, so she understands, like, she's got an imagination and works with kids and all that
Mhm.
stuff. So yeah,
Which is awesome.
very understand. A big Studio Ghibli fan, which is awesome. So we can watch those things together.
Even better.
Nice.
I should have worn my Totoro shirt today then. Totoro. Go ahead, Kyle.
So, in one of the interviews and things I saw that you kind of mentioned hiding Oklahoma, like
Yeah,
the shape in the figures, and so
yeah.
kind of describe that process. Is it just like, was that something that you originally wanted to do, or was that like you were going through and you're like, I can put a panhandle here? And
That's what it is. So that's something that's kind of evolved. It's come about, like, on Bass, I did like a shape of Oklahoma on his badge. Stuff like that was just me coming up with cool little detail to put in. It really wasn't until I did Wiley Post and I looked at him and I realized that his eye patch like forms the shape of Oklahoma. And that's when kind of everything started going off in my head, because if you're familiar with Disney World, they do hidden Mickeys everywhere. I was like, I can do that with the Oklahoma Panhandle. So so not all the characters have that, unfortunately, but it is something I'm wanting to be more proactive of doing. I can tell you, Buck Adam, he already had like an Oklahoma on his shoulder. Like I said, Bass Reeves, it was me just wanting to put it on his badge. So some of the characters kind of had it innately, but it really wasn't until Wiley Post I was like, okay, yeah, I want to start being more intentional about this and make that a thing. So
now you can
who
see
knows?
the top of Wiley in my background, but if I move my head a little bit, you can kind of
Yeah.
see, like, right.
Yeah, his eye patch forms in Oklahoma.
There it is.
Just naturally does, which is really
Which is
sweet.
awesome.
Now
Yeah.
I'm looking the driller over.
And the driller is my first one. He does not have it.
Oh, okay.
Although
Okay. Because
Now,
I've been
Eric, you should
looking
have
for
told
20
him. I would have enjoyed listening to him complain for the next 2 days. I
I've
can't
been looking
find
for the
it.
last
Yes.
30 minutes because he's on my background, and I've been like, okay, it's there somewhere. Nope, that's not it.
Yeah,
Like, is
yeah.
it the crosses in the Derek?
I would have
No?
to go back and redo the sculpt and redo molds. Unfortunately, that's just a luxury I don't have. But who knows? Maybe I will
Okay.
someday.
I'm glad you told me, because I've been sitting here looking this whole time. Like, when I've been quiet, I've been looking at the golden driller in my
Eric,
background.
I
like,
wish you
there's some-
wouldn't have told
My
him,
bad.
because now I would have
should just tell
enjoyed this.
people it's there. And
You could just went with it up. You got to find it. I'm like, oh God. All right.
Kyle, I see it. I see it real plain. You should keep looking.
that's right.
Yeah, this is your Mephisto moment, isn't it?
Yes,
That's
it
cool.
is.
That's cool.
So that's cool. So are you planning on doing that for all future figures too?
Yeah,
Like-
yeah, it's something. I don't know that I did it on the whale. Maybe before I actually manufacture the whale, I need to go back and do that. But it is something I want to be proactive doing, because again, I love the search for hidden Mickeys at Disney World. Everyone does, so I would love that to make that a thing. Just a gimmick of sorts.
It's just something fun people can do, knowing
Yeah.
that it's there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like with the old, like you said, with the Mickeys at Disney World, but also with the old urban legend on the Tootsie Roll Pops with the Indian shooting the star,
Mhm.
trying to find one that had that. Because
Yep,
you got
yeah,
the
I
free
remember
one
that
from the
too,
store.
free one.
Yes.
It's an urban legend, right?
There's lots of
Yes.
companies that started doing that, and that is so cool. Like, I think Jeep does that too, with like a
Do they
symbol,
really?
like different places like hidden on the Jeep that you'll find.
Oh wow.
I can't remember what they hide on there, but yeah, Jeep does that, and like a lot of places. And I think that's just
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. that's
So
awesome.
what are some things that you've got? Because we kind of talked about how you got them out there and how you're getting them sold. You have Etsy, you have storefronts, you have partners that you work with. Anything that you've got planned for the future that you can talk about or that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, well, I kind of touched on that. As again, I've got the pink
Mhm.
packs coming out, so that'll be new. And then the capsules, I'm going to be selling the capsules probably online as well. I've got to figure out a way, because I think that's a really cool way for people to purchase them. I don't know if I do blind box. I don't know if people hate blind boxes or they like blind
Oh,
boxes.
people love blind, like
Do they?
our like,
Yeah.
well,
Real
at
life
least I
loot
know-
box.
yeah, in our communities, I mean, yeah, there's the loot crates. People love those, like especially in the nerding community.
Yeah.
There is
So I've got to figure
huge
that out.
there's a huge niche on Twitch of this blind box. Well, I mean, opening.
Yep.
You know,
In
unboxing is
general.
big on YouTube anyway, but then like unboxing and blind boxing stuff on Twitch live is like a thing and like a big
Okay.
thing. Yeah, and so that's
And
that's
one of
something
the
that-
things I like about the capsule and the blind boxing is that means if I do want to go back to kind of the collector small batch stuff, it's like I can always sneak those into a blind box or, and just
Mhm.
let people know that that is a possibility. You could get one of these that is, a higher value.
Right.
Yeah, so I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to sell these outside of, I'm going to have this machine at Buck
Mhm.
Adams, hopefully here in the next week or two. And I'm going to offer them online. That's all I've got planned, at least for O.K.I.E.S. And then Cops and Crooks later this year.
Right.
The Res Detectives later this year, which is gonna be cool. I've done some other figures with an artist named Shingangu, who's on Instagram, does amazing what's called Sofabi, which we haven't even really talked about.
Mhm.
There's Keshi and Sofabi. Sofabi are vinyl toys, more like when you think of Funko Pops or whatever. They're
Mhm.
larger.
Okay. Yeah.
So I've done some Sofabi. I've got this like Pugnacious Sofabi's one, and then I've got Astro Ranger. You can find those on my Instagram. I've done some more stuff with him that's coming out later this year, and also these. A lot of people like the 3.5 inch. I did these extremely limited retro pulp figures. They're 3.5 inch, and I don't know if it's this. I won't tell you who I did. I did a really cool figure. I'm excited to share. I don't know how he would feel about me sharing it just yet until he does. So
it's understandable.
I should say it's a really cool cult classic film that I did a character of sci-fi. I think when you guys see it, you're gonna be really excited. I'm really excited about the sculpt. But he's a 3.5 inch figure. Those are made in an extremely limited batches and are fetch a high dollar as a result too. So those are kind of what I have in the works. And then I'm going to do the Katusa Blue at some time this year, as well as some other O.K.I.E.S. As soon as I can find some time to. All the
Well,
other stuff.
I'm getting that Katusa Blue as soon as you put it up for sale, and then
Yeah, I've had a lot of people say that, which means I got to make a lot. Oh, and the other one I'm making is, and this is relevant because they're doing a big celebration, I think, this weekend on the Outsiders. And so I made
cool.
2 figures. They're there on my Instagram called Little Greasers. Again, I try to play what I tell people is like the Mad Magazine route, the kind of rule of parody or whatever. So it's like I don't feel comfortable calling them the Outsiders or whatever. I don't feel comfortable calling them Pony Boy and Johnny, so I call them PB and J. So
I saw those. Yes, I saw that one.
yeah. So I'm going to do those figures, and I've actually gotten to talk with Danny Boy O'Connor over the Outsiders Museum, but I think he's going to have some there. I think.
That's awesome.
But those are being made right now, so I don't. It still may be a couple months before I have them in hand, but excited about those too.
So Kyle, I'm hoping that the one he can't talk about right now.
Mhm.
I'm hoping it's Mephisto or Bruce Campbell. I'll take either one.
Natalie can tell you at some point, or my wife, I should.
Oh yeah, no, I will definitely be hitting her up for that. All right, so for those of you watching, there's the little greasers.
Yeah,
I know it's reflecting off my window, but they're awesome looking.
Oh, those look so cool.
And I love your style on this too, like how it's not true to form, but it's like it's the figure form of it,
yeah.
which is like, I don't know, just something that just grabs you about it, that you're like, okay, that is really cool. I want to collect that. I want that.
Yeah. Well, again, I like to think of these, they're the Mad Magazine version, right? So
Yeah.
even the O.K.I.E.S, I think of them that way.
That's a cool way to, yeah. Now that you said it, like that clicks.
I can definitely see the Alfred E. Newman version. Yes.
Yeah, and
Not the cracked version. These are higher quality because they're
no,
the
these
Mad
are way higher quality.
well, and for a while, so when I do a lot of figures, I would usually release them under a moniker that's a little bit more like a clue to who they are. Like Wiley Post, even though in the PAX era, Wiley Post, when I was first releasing him, he was the Postman.
Mhm.
And so I've had other names like that. Like I don't remember what I called. I called Gary Busey was called Giacchetti because he was a character named Teddy Giacchetti here locally for a while. So I have some kind of nods to that as well. But
There's one.
But that's also a play of trying to educate people and confuse people too. So
Well, like say, like, and I didn't get to do this earlier. I want to round back to the capsules really quick.
Yep.
I'm really interested in those personally because that is such a cool way to display them. One,
yes,
because in the capsule, two,
Yes.
the golden rule of you get any figure of anything that's in any type of blister packaging or any type of packaging or whatever, like you don't open it, like it goes on, it goes. But
capsule is
those
resealable.
the capsule is resealable. That's what I was sitting thinking the whole time. Like I could take it out, I could open it, and I'd be like, ooh, and then I could put it back in and put the cap back on, and nobody would know that it's like, oh
Kyle
yeah,
almost
that's
said-
closed.
Kyle almost said, and I can play with it and then put it back in. But he's like, no, I can take it out and look at it.
Look at it,
Look at it.
put it back in, put the cap back on. Nobody's the wiser.
Well,
I did.
the big appeal to me for the muscle figures and the Keshi form factor is it's like the idea of just having one in your pocket or shoving them in your pocket, taking them somewhere, right? There's a lot of appeal to me in that you can't really do with a lot of action figures. So
I think this would be perfect because you mentioned your wife teaches elementary. I think this would be a perfect learning tool for when they teach Oklahoma history.
Yeah.
yes,
For the kids, because we all know kids and some adults are very visual,
yeah,
and then this would just be something that you could build a whole lesson plan around about, because they could even do like the role playing of the characters, but they would have to research them first.
Yeah.
yes,
Which I think would be
absolutely.
awesome.
I think that's an amazing idea. You should write an RPG that we could use the O.K.I.E.S figures with.
Oh, we
Once
could
you level
definitely
your
do that.
Oklahoma history skill high enough, you unlock Wiley Post, and then there you go.
Yeah,
Okay,
there is a
your new
game to be
skin.
made.
I'm gonna have to show you this from Eric's Instagram again, because I got super excited when I saw that. Because Kyle knows I have an obsession with something.
Oh yeah, Gundam.
Oh, that's
Gundam.
cool.
That's just one I built from a package. It wasn't a custom.
Yeah,
Gundam.
but it's still the way you did it though is
oh yeah,
awesome. I've got an obsession with Gundam. Gundam's like one of my favorite series. But that is
more
so
people
cool.
should. I think they're like the new Lego, or at least they should you should graduate from Lego to Gundam.
Yep.
There was a cool video of Adam Savage, if you guys follow Tested, like last year, building his first Gundam, and that was an awesome
one. I'm gonna have to
I
go look
love
at
Adam
that.
Savage.
Oh, so do I. And his Tested channel is just so cool.
Okay. We went over collaborations.
So we're gonna
And
get
then
really
this-
personal here.
Yep.
Okay.
This is super
Very
personal.
Super personal. We're gonna learn a lot about you as a person.
Oh,
And we
Marvel.
will
I know where it's going, yeah.
yeah, we will judge you.
Mhm.
on
Yeah,
this
okay,
one.
that's fine.
Marvel or DC, and why?
I think it's an easy Marvel because well, at least most Marvel and DC these days is experienced through movies and
Mhm.
TV, and I'm watching the Batman right now. It's pretty good. I enjoy it, but it's one of the few, and it still bugs me that there's no like lightheartedness in it, and it's all so deep and dark. And that's one of the things Marvel has done so well is there's humor, and these
Mhm.
people seem a little bit more like real people and not just brooding emo people that didn't have any friends growing up. So
Right. And we
It's
finally made it
cool.
through. Oh, Batman is amazing. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love how we finally got through it this week since it came out.
yeah,
But it took
I'm
us 2
halfway through
nights.
it.
Okay, yeah. So okay, you're like us then too. When the kids come in, then you're like, okay, we're gonna watch it. We've got an hour and a half before we get tired.
Yep.
I do like how the new one had like the detective feel, but I agree with you at the same time. It's like, oh, like someone
Yeah.
throw a pie.
Yeah, I know. There was one small moment that Bruce had with Gordon. He kind of like,
Yeah.
that was it. That was it. I was
That was
like,
the only smile
there's a
in the
little
whole
bit of
movie.
humanity in there somewhere. But come on,
Kyle's just over there snickering.
it's cool. Like I said, it's cool, but it's like, come on. I don't know. I'd want to hang around this person. It'd be a big downer.
Okay, and Kyle and I will allow you to continue to be on the show after that answer. That's a good answer.
And
I like
I would say
Watchmen a lot. Watchmen's DC. But even that's pretty dark, I guess.
Oh, that was super dark.
But Watchmen, specifically the HBO Watchmen, which is not
Yep,
technically
the
the
one-
same Watchmen, was fantastic.
Oh yeah, the one based the
That's-
Tulsa one.
Yeah, so if we count that as DC, that's probably one of the best pieces of DC I've seen in forever.
I would agree with
Ever.
that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And Shazam, I would say would
Oh
be
yeah,
another one.
Shazam's fun. That was them trying to do Marvel, though, is what I felt
Yeah,
like.
that's 100% what it is. But I think that's why I actually loved it.
Yeah.
So
And we've had this long running talk of this, of, you know, which one do we like? And I think it depends on the mood. Like we
Yeah.
want to be lighthearted. Like Marvel is doing live action really well. DC is doing animated better. Like if I want something kind of gritty and rough around the edges, then, you know, like the Batman really hit that, or some of the animated
Batman
DC.
animated series, I mean, that's legendary. So
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, when
Yep.
it comes to that stuff.
God,
yeah,
we're on the same.
Marvel hasn't really you couldn't say Marvel's really come close. They did the What If, and the What Ifs is okay. Honestly, like Spider-Verse is top for me, and Spider-Verse was Sony.
yep,
I mean,
yep.
I guess it's Marvel, but it was Sony Marvel.
Probably since like
So-
X-Men animated was
Yep,
like
yep.
that
Yeah,
might have
X-Men,
been, which is
you're right.
coming back. It's coming
X-Men
back.
animated
Which I'm
was
so
great.
excited about. But you got to also remember too that and then which came out this week too. Into the Spider-Verse 2 got delayed
Yes.
until next year now.
Oh, did it really?
2023 now. Yep, it was supposed to be this year, but and they gave no reasoning for it.
Somebody screwed up somewhere. We'll find
uh-huh.
out really soon.
I will give you guys-
I hope you guys have seen Arcane, because Arcane is like, that was
I loved Arcane.
Spider-Verse was top for me, and Arcane beat it. I didn't think that was going to happen. Arcane was absolutely.
Really, you thought so?
Oh yeah. Well, in terms of animate, again, I'm animated.
Yeah,
The
that's
animation
true.
quality was better. The and it was surprisingly very adult, but approachable, again, without it being just too artsy or too
Right.
rated R or whatever.
So I loved Arcane too. I will give you guys a flash fact if you didn't know. The guy who played Commissioner Gordon, or I guess Detective Gordon, whoever he was in the Batman movie.
Yeah.
So there was multiple people who have crossed over in that Batman movie. They're both in Marvel and DC.
Oh, you see Marvel?
He is also in Marvel. So we know
yeah,
Alfred. We know Alfred was Kang, not Kang, Claw in Black Panther.
Mhm.
And he's in DC. So who Gordon was, he was the Watcher in What If.
Is he really?
That's
Oh,
right. I
yes.
forgot.
I haven't
yes.
seen all the What Ifs, so
Okay, yeah. So
I've
you
seen, like,
you
3
haven't
of
heard him talk then, but if you
Yeah.
listen to the beginning, I'm like, when I heard him talking
yeah.
in the Batman, I'm like, why do I know that voice? Why do I know this
from
voice?
Westworld. It's
Yeah, I was gonna
Westworld.
say from Westworld, and he was in Hunger Games too. I think.
Oh, was he? Yeah,
I'm
Jeffrey
pretty
Yeah.
sure he was in Hunger Games too. Yeah.
Oh, there's your flash fact for the day. Now this one is, I think, a little more
Obvious.
near to Kyle and I.
Well, I can almost guess just by looking at the background here.
Me too. Me
What's
too.
going on? I'm moving my hands like everybody can see when I'm pointing at things on the screen. What's going
Star
on?
Wars or Star Trek, and
Alright.
why?
I mean, it's an easy Star Wars for me, but let me just say, I am more of an animation fan than I am like this. This question doesn't mean as much to me. It doesn't carry as much weight as it probably does to a lot of people. So, I like Star Wars. I can enjoy the last Star Wars movies without them upsetting me, because I know
Mhm.
some Star Wars fans, they are very passionate one way or the other, and I'm just like, I just enjoy the characters and the
Mhm.
Right.
Mandalorian, is probably the best Star Wars thing I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Second to maybe the Clone Wars, the 2D animated Clone Wars.
Yep.
by
Yep.
Genndy. So
The original.
yeah, the original. But again, so and it's kind of like with Marvel and DC. It's like I'm not really judging them on one or the other. It's really about what they've done, and I don't know that Star Trek has really ever done anything. I mean, the movies are, Wrath of Khan was great, and the J.J. Abrams one was fun and stuff. But I don't know. I would rather, if I was asked, what do you want to watch
Mhm.
right now? I'd rather watch a Star Wars than that.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I will tell you, the stuff on Paramount Plus, the animated Star Trek stuff they have, is actually decent.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's actually decent.
Okay.
I like how you're like, not like it's really good. You're like, it's It's
actually
actually
decent. Well,
decent.
it's because I'm not a Star Trek fan. You know, I'll watch it, but like, it's not what I expected, and I found myself enjoying it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it's
I'd
actually.
take Firefly out of the three if you threw that in there.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes. Okay, fellow Firefly fan. If you
Firefly.
ever do those action figures, I will buy those in a heartbeat.
But again, Whedon does in Firefly what Marvel does, which is, again, he has them joke around and
Yep.
Mhm.
seem like normal people. And Star Wars rarely does that, and Star Trek rarely does that, at least, you know, in a non-cerebral way, anyways.
Oh, 100%. Well, Eric, what else? As we're starting to wrap up here,
Okay.
what else would you like people to know, either about you, about your figures, like stuff that you want to promote? Like, what's some stuff you want to leave with people?
Well, like I said, I think people should check out my Instagram. If they're interested in doing some 3D modeling or getting into that, check out my YouTube. I need to do probably more there, but that's probably the main thing. I always like hearing from people or what they're doing with the figures or anything like that. That's always neat. But yeah, I don't know that there's anything I'm like, oh, you have to do this, other than, hey, if you're interested, check this out.
Right. Well, this has been a lot of fun for
It
us.
has
It
been,
really
yeah.
has.
Yeah, thank you. Same.
Because this is a, you know, Kyle and I like to collect stuff, so this has been a real big thing. Like,
Thank
if
you
you
very
ever-
much for coming on.
oh, we really,
Good,
really
good.
appreciate it, and
Appreciate that.
giving up, you know, an hour, 10 minutes, hour, 20 minutes, however long it's been of your Saturday.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate this.
Well, yeah, if anyone out there likes the O.K.I.E.S, I also encourage them to go buy one. You know, it's one thing to admire something like that. It's another thing, kind of put your money towards it, because if you do that, again, it just means I'm going to have more opportunities to do more with them.
So if Kyle and I will probably on our Twitch channels at some point, we'll show you guys those too. If you guys follow our Twitches.
Mhm. If you can, Chris over there at Guyver Unit 01 on Twitch, and me at KSIG, K_SIG. So you guys check that out.
With that, this has been Every Man's Guide to Nerddom. I'm Chris.
And I'm Kyle, and wherever you guys are, have a great morning, evening, night, whatever time it is, and please be good to each other.
See ya.
Nerd culture rise up. It could get elevated. Nerd culture